Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday evening to you all. I hope you guys have been having a great Wednesday and a great week so far as we round off our first day of June, moving on through 2022. Speaking of 2022, we could potentially be talking about our first named tropical system of the 2022 hurricane list of names here. So, what we're going to do is that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how this could develop, how it could impact areas like Florida, what's really going to piece it together, what's going to steer this, drive it, and how much could it potentially strengthen. Could it get to a hurricane? Highly, highly doubt it. In fact, it might not even make it to a tropical storm, but it could. It's going to have two chances. The first chance is going to be before it hits the western coast of Florida, if it does, which is looking like a higher probability that it is. And then it's going to have another chance after it crosses over the peninsula of Florida to become a tropical storm. So that's what we're going to talk about and break down for you guys. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. The morning videos continue to crush the evening videos. In fact, last night's video, I really was thinking it was going to pick up a lot more steam than it did. Ended up being probably the least watched evening video in quite some time. But you know, obviously not everybody lives in Florida, and really this storm is only going to likely impact Florida and potentially put some big time waves off the coast of the southeast a little bit later this weekend and next week. So if you guys got anything that I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So definitely do that. And I also want to mention, I really appreciate all the nice comments. I made that afternoon video. Just kind of talk about where I'm at as far as this process with this channel and where I'm thinking about heading and where I'm being led to by God with this channel. And I really appreciate the nice comments. You guys are really a light in my life, so I really appreciate the support. You guys fuel my passion, and I really appreciate having an audience that I can share my passion with. That's a real big blessing. So let's get rolling. National Hurricane Center for the 2-day outlook. So this is basically 48 hours, 2-day graphical tropical weather outlook. Has a excuse me, has a 70% chance to develop this blob down here, and likely it'll take it and shove it into Florida. Just pretty much ignore this. This has an extremely low chance of developing, and it's basically just an area of showers and storms. A better way to look at this is the 5-day graphical outlook, and it pretty much shows that, hey, this has an 80% chance to develop here in the next few days. 5 days technically, but really this is going to develop here in the next 48 hours. And then it'll develop and head northeast and impact Florida with a lot of heavy rain. How bad could the impacts be in Florida? That's what we're going to try to gradually, gradually work to in this video. So let's get rolling here. Let's take a look at the satellite visibility swirls here. So earlier, and you still kind of do, we had a swirl here on the western tip of the Yucatan Peninsula here in the Bay of Campeche, but that is since dwindling away. And we have been talking about this, how the GFS has been, and even the European did too, but the GFS showed two distinct areas of vort max, basically two areas of vortices, two areas of spin. And one was going to dominate the other. And it's pretty clear today that the eastern one right here is dominating and will eventually take full responsibility of controlling this storm and pretty much developing it. So right now, the meat of the storm is right into here in the western area of the Caribbean. And eventually, this will try, and the steering currents are very slow in this region. This will try to dwindle and kind of gradually move a little north and then northeast into Florida. But right here, you just got a little bit of a swirl popping off. If you look here, you probably have a little bit of a low-level swirl too, but we can't see that. So we might actually have a depression by maybe sometime tomorrow or overnight. But let's take a look at the European model and see how this could develop. So we're starting this off by overnight tonight. We're getting into tomorrow morning. Notice this low pressure does not move much in 6-hour intervals over the next 48 hours. Eventually, we get into Friday morning, and this eventually starts to this blob of a lot of moisture and rain. This is going to be a pretty broad system, but it's really going to be lopsided, meaning, well, it's going to be lopsided. All the moisture is going to be on one side of the circulation. So this will gradually and finally move back into the Gulf of Mexico as we're getting into Friday afternoon, and then Friday evening, and then overnight Friday into Saturday, and then Saturday morning, I think is really going to be the worst weather for the entire southern half of the peninsula of Florida, where you'll have gusty showers and storms. It's going to be moving through. Several inches of rain will fall, and this will move over Florida, and then probably be on the other side of Florida by overnight Saturday and a Sunday morning. And then I think this will have an opportunity to strengthen. This will be whipping up some big time waves along the southeast coastline. So if you're going to be in the beach next Sunday or Monday, expect some big time waves and some nasty rip currents. But I really think if this does not develop into a tropical storm right here, it'll likely do it off the coast of the southeast, as most model guidance has this occurring. You look at the GFS, and it's really started to like the idea of the European. The European looks like it's going to win out unless some kind of drastic shift happens, which I'm not expecting it to happen, and the professionals aren't either. But same thing, getting into Thursday morning, Friday morning, it has it moving more east and then moving it really a stout, almost north-northeast into Florida, strengthening pretty quickly, might get to a low-end tropical storm. In fact, really the latest GFS shows that happening. Makes landfall at the southern tip of Florida. Key West, nasty weather, brings a lot of heavy rain, but it's still, per the GFS, above 1,000 millibar low pressure. So that's probably a strong depression, a weak tropical storm making landfall here. Remember, you got to get to a 40-mile-per-hour storm for this to be classified as a tropical storm. The GFS does not like the idea of the European and this strengthening once it gets off the coast of the southeast and over the Bahamas. The European really likes the idea. The GFS doesn't. Either way, this is going to move on out into the North Atlantic and not going to do anything to the southeast except Florida. So we've been showing this the last couple days, these vortemax. And you can, like I said, we just showed the satellite visibility. You could see on satellite where you have a spin over here. You can even see the wind barbs right here moving around the spin. And then you got this spin right here. But this one quickly dominates. And this one just kind of loses its own. And this is when it becomes a storm right here. You can see the more vibrant dark colors, if that makes sense. Sounds kind of offsetting vibrant and dark. But you can see the more pronounced colors right here. That is what could potentially be Alex that moves over the southern tip of Florida. So we'll move this forward and we look at the steering currents. What's steering this and why is it so slow? Well, there's hardly no steering currents. I mean, there's steering currents, but they're not quick steering currents. You're not getting a nice flow from any direction. This is just going to kind of meander in this area, and if finally it gets influenced by troughing over the eastern U.S. weak troughing, but it's there. It doesn't necessarily pick it up, but it kind of pushes it off to the northeast and affects where it heads eventually. So that's kind of what's steering this, and then ridging builds on behind. It builds below this storm and helps it to not really move south at all. So it's going to be interesting kind of what happens here. A lot of storms, when you get deep into hurricane season, when the main development region really picks up, you don't see many storms doing that. But this time of the year, they like to form in the Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico and then head north, northwest, or northeast. That's kind of what they do. That's what climatology tells us that they like to do. We look at some spaghetti models as far as where this could go. These are from the 18Z model track guidance from Tropical Tidbits. Likes whatever forming going into the southern areas of Florida pretty much. And then you look at the intensity, and I tell you what, a lot of models don't like this becoming a tropical storm early on, but I think that this will probably trend a little upwards. But a lot of them come very close to tropical storm status. So I have to see what happens here. We got to see if this could develop into a tropical storm and see what happens here. But the EPS ensembles, the European ensembles, and this is really all I'm going to show because I have full confidence that the European is likely going to be the more likely scenario. You see all these numbers right here, that's potential low pressures. It's basically an ensemble that makes up one run. So all these numbers are potentially placements of where these low pressures can be. But you see how consolidated it is? It tells you that, hey, there's a good bit of confidence that whatever forms is going to head right into Florida. Stout signal. And then the colors brighten up here. It's because it's signaling strengthening of this whatever low pressure forms off the coast of the southeast. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But in general, you see how this unfolds based off the European. We're getting into Friday morning, that's not too far away. You're already getting a lot of a lot of gusty showers and things already pivoting into Miami, the western, and basically the entire southern peninsula of Florida. And then as we're getting into Friday afternoon, any Friday activities you got, if you're in Miami, it's going to be a wet and gusty and just very breezy evening, and anything you got for the nightly commute or anything like that, it's going to be nasty. I would just keep it basically indoors And then you get to Friday overnight into Saturday morning, and the nastiest of the weather will probably move through overnight Friday into Saturday morning, while you have very heavy rain into this area and probably some, winds gusting to 35, 45 miles per hour, maybe a little higher in the more intense bands that move into this area. But you notice the low pressure, all the convection is on the east side of this low pressure. There's nothing on the west and northwest side of this low pressure, because you got a lot of dry air wrapping behind this with troughing, kind of bringing some dry air and some shear. But this moves through, and by the time you get into, I would say, Saturday late evening, Sunday morning, it's over. It's done. So we kind of look at this, how much rain could potentially fall off the European. Well, if you're in Orlando, points south, I would say a good bit. Anywhere from 1 to 2 inches to as much as 4 to 5 inches of rain down here is certainly possible. A lot of rain is going to fall. Areas like Miami could see 3 to 5 inches of rain is certainly possible. But this is by far the biggest threat with this. So that's all I got, guys. We'll continue to figure this out, but I'm honestly not expecting this to change much from video to video. This is, I wouldn't say it's straightforward, but I think models are starting to lock into an idea, and I really think that we are starting to figure out a solution with this as we have tried to work this in from mid-range to short range. But that's all I got. Thank you all for tuning in. I have you a morning in a video. I have a video in the morning and updating you for the weather for your Thursday. God bless.